3 organizations over the last couple of years where I've had a chance to talk with 55 managers, a variety of different levels, all right? One was a nonprofit social service organization in Detroit. Another one was a for-profit client-driven organization in Detroit. Another was an academic administrative unit at a college in Detroit as well. I've got kind of a Detroit bias. But those are the ones who allowed me to do this. When I was called in as a consultant, my primary concern was, if we're going to do leadership development, I don't want to take anything off the shelf and say, do this. I need to find out from you and from others, what is it that managers are proficient at doing? What do they have concerns about, so that we can close that skill gap? So I thought it was only fair to make sure that I had a for-profit, a nonprofit, and an academic administrative unit to kind of round out some of this research, all right? So this is Lee Meadows research. It's not written in a journal anywhere. It's me sharing information with you about what I had to put together, but because the idea was to interview to find out what it is these individuals wanted to know. Here are the questions. You're welcome to them, all right? Because I believe in simplicity. Keep it simple. What is it that you want to know? Well, here are some things I wanted to know. Why did you pursue this leadership role? Now, there's an inherent assumption in that, but I wanted to know, why did you pursue this leadership role? What motivated you? What was the interest that drove you to this particular thing? What would you have liked to have known prior to accepting the role? How many of you feel that way about HR? All right? We didn't tell you, because if we told you, you wouldn't have done it. All right? We needed to keep you in the queue and in the mix, so we refused to share the information. But think about that. All right? Think about what would you have at least have liked to have known before you stepped into this role? There's a lot of things that still go unknown, but there's always patterns. There's always insights. There's always obligations that people can share with you to let you know what was going on. So I thought that was an important question. What was the most difficult aspect of learning how to lead? And when I show you the results in this, I suspect many of you won't even be surprised by it. But in many ways, it kind of confirms what we already know. What's your long-term vision for your department, your unit, your organization? I ask that question because oftentimes leaders don't understand that they're supposed to have a long-term vision if they're a supervisor in a unit of 2 people. Right? They're not just managing the unit. There's some things they need to think about when trying to lead that unit forward. And what's your best advice for anyone who's coming in behind you? You are ascending up the ladder, someone else is about to come into that role. What's your best advice? What's the best advice that you would share with them? Here are some of the results. All right, for the first question, why did you pursue this leadership role? 68% weren't pursuing it, the role came to them. Anybody surprised by those results? No, they weren't looking for it. Someone came after them. Now, the motivation that pushed folks forward to ask individuals to step into leadership roles could be kind of interesting. There's a lot of data that comes with that. My first supervisory position was not something I was pursuing. I was just leaving General Motors on Friday. My boss looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm leaving." He said, "Good, on Monday you're a supervisor and report to this particular plant." I wasn't pursuing it, but somehow it came to me. And I learned a lot from that. Well, 68% weren't pursuing it. It was, the role came to them. So what does that mean? They weren't even thinking about it. They weren't even thinking about it. Now, I think that has implications, because if I'm not thinking about something like that, when it comes to me, where do I begin the thought process? What's my framework for doing this? 32% used the formal application process to express their interest. So a number of them said, this is something I want to do, and they used the formal process to get that. Question 2, what would you like to have known prior to accepting the role? 85% said what? People issues. Surprising? We never tell anybody going into a supervisory role that your primary issue is going to be the people that you work with. All right? Because what happens? They go from being a peer, where they are responsible, where they are involved with a lot of the chaos, a lot of the upheaval that happens, and then we elevate them into a supervisory role. And so they think that because they're in that particular role, they don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about stuff, just getting tasks done. 85% of them said, wow, I didn't know that people were this crazy. Well, why didn't you know that? You were part of it. Why do you think we got you promoted? All right? Because we needed you to help level out some of this insanity. I say we didn't know. We didn't know. And what they didn't understand is as they continue to move up in various leadership roles, the people issues just become much more complex. They would have liked to have known that. 75% said the lack of control over the outcome. In other words, stuff happens. Stuff happens. I'm trying to get down 75 to go to Ann Arbor and somehow end up in Toledo, and I don't know how that happened. Well, that happens in being in a supervisory role all the time. Leaders experience those kinds of things all the time. And 72% said the paperwork. They didn't realize there's so much paperwork that came with trying to lead people. Question 3, what was the most difficult aspect of learning how to lead? 83%, supervising my peers. Supervising my peers. Ladies and gentlemen, what's one of those interesting, commonly held patterns that goes on in organizations all the time, even to this day, is to promote someone out of a peer group and then make them supervisor of that same group. Right? And nothing could be more chaotic. Every piece of research that's ever been done around that says that's a bad move. That's a bad move because now that individual went from being the pigeon to being the statue. And they don't understand what that means. I'll let that sit in. I said, we didn't know. If you want to elevate someone into a supervisory role, put them in a different location. Give them a completely different group to supervise so that they can start to learn what leadership is. Because your peers won't let you do that because they remember all the stuff you did when you were part of the peer group. All right? So